In 3 years of marriage, my wife, Lin Shi-wan, used my resources to rise from a bottom-tier minor celebrity into a red-hot best actress almost overnight. The day she had fame and success, she handed me a divorce agreement. Her reason was, Liu Jinren, you're only a behind-the-scenes capital backer. You can no longer give me the passion and romance I want. I signed calmly and left the marriage with nothing. She thought that once I lost her, I had lost everything. The next day, at the first executive meeting of the media group I had just acquired, I sat in the president's chair and watched her enter as the group's newly signed top female star, following her manager inside to bow and greet me. When she raised her head and saw her supposedly ruined ex-husband in the seat of power, that beautiful face of hers must have looked spectacular. Yes, spectacular beyond belief. Lin Shi-wan's expression was like a silent film compressed with shock, fear, absurdity, and disbelief. Her prized best actress level facial expression control collapsed completely in that instant. The one who came in with her was Sister Wang, known in the industry as her ace manager. Sister Wang clearly had not expected this scene either, but she had far more professional savvy than Lin Shi-wan. After freezing for only half a second, she instantly put on a polished smile and bent even lower. President Liu, good day. I am Lin Shi-wan's manager, Wang Fen. Please take good care of us from now on. Lin Shi-wan, hurry and greet President Liu. She secretly pinched Lin Shi-wan's arm hard. Lin Shi-wan snapped back as if waking from a dream. Her body gave a violent shudder. All color drained from her face. Her lips trembled, but she could not force out a word. I leaned back in the broad president's chair. My fingertips tapped the smooth tabletop, slow and irregular. The dull knocks carried a steady rhythm. In the deathly still meeting room, each sound struck Lin Shi-wan's heart like a hammer. Manager Wang, there is no need to be so courteous. I spoke coolly, but my gaze passed over her and landed on Lin Shi-wan's deathly pale face. So this is the new top female star our group paid so dearly to sign. My tone was flat and calm, without the slightest trace of emotion, as if I were appraising a product. Sister Wang quickly bowed and scraped. Yes, President Liu, Lin Shi-wan's potential. I raised a hand and cut her off. My eyes stayed locked on Lin Shi-wan. I was not asking you. Sister Wang's smile froze on her face. Awkwardly, she shut her mouth. Inside the meeting room, the group executives kept their eyes down, solemn and perfectly still, pretending to be background props. But their quietly pricked ears betrayed their blazing hunger for gossip. Every eye focused on Lin Shi-wan. At last, she found her voice, shaking with a trace of resentment. President Liu, it is me. Oh, I drew out the word, leaning forward slightly. I studied her with crush and pressure. Miss Lin Shi-wan, is that right? I do remember you. After all, people who use someone and throw them away so quickly and ruthlessly are rare indeed. Those words, use someone and throw them away, I said very slowly and very clearly. Lin Shi-wan's face instantly flushed an ugly dark red. Humiliation, fury, and terror tangled in her eyes. Yesterday, she had still looked down on me from above, saying with pity that we were not from the same world. Today, she had to stand here like a subordinate and face my judgment. President Liu, I think there may be some misunderstanding here. Lin Shi-wan took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down and trying to salvage a shred of dignity. She probably thought I would consider the 3 years we had spent as husband and wife, and would not humiliate her too badly in front of everyone. She was wrong. I gave a cold laugh. My voice was not loud, but it was enough for everyone in the meeting room to hear clearly. Miss Lin Shi-wan, this misunderstanding you mean, is it that you divorced me only yesterday, and today became an artist under my company? Or that you took the road I paved for you and spent the money I earned to buy luxury cars and villas for your new lover, the one chasing passion and romance? Those words were like a thunderclap, exploding through the meeting room. Every executive sucked in a sharp breath. The way they looked at Lin Shi-wan instantly shifted from simple gossip to contempt and amused judgment. Lin Shi-wan's body swayed violently. She nearly lost her footing. Her greatest secret, the trump card she thought I would never know, had been exposed by me in public with careless ease. She looked at me, and for the first time, real fear appeared in her eyes. At last, she realized that the behind-the-scenes capital backer she had once sneered at was not a man she could manipulate as easily as she had imagined. I did not. She was still making a feeble defense. You did not? I picked up a document from the table and flipped through it casually. Your new lover. Is named Shen Lang, isn't he? New money and venture capital. Founder of Tianlang Capital. 1 month ago. Behind my back. You used 20 million yuan from our joint marital account to buy him a Rolls-Royce Phantom in full. Half a month ago. You used my name as guarantor again to take out a 30 million yuan loan and buy him a villa on Union Mountain. The deed is in his name. With every sentence I spoke, Lin Shiwan's face turned a shade paler. By the time I finished, I slapped the document onto the table with a sharp crack and suddenly sat upright. My gaze was like a blade. Lin Shiwan. Do you need me to project the transfer records, car purchase contract and property deed onto the big screen so everyone here can enjoy the show? In the meeting room, even the sound of breathing vanished. Lin Shiwan stood there, like a statue with its soul hollowed out, teetering on the verge of collapse. She probably never dreamed that I not only knew, but also held evidence this solid. In 3 years of marriage, I thought I had warmed a stone with my own hands. Only in the end did I discover it was poison ice. What I thought was love was nothing but a scam she had carefully woven. And since it was a scam, there would always come a day when it was exposed. Today was only the beginning. I watched her devastated, vacant expression, without the slightest ripple in my heart. There was only coldness. Now, my voice returned to calm, but carried a tone that allowed no argument. Let us talk about work. Starting today, we will establish the President's Special Assistant Office. Miss Lin Shiwan, since you understand my personal preferences and daily habits so well, the position of Chief Secretary to the President will be yours. You will handle all my daily schedules, meeting arrangements, serving tea and water, and cleaning my office. Your monthly salary will follow the intern standard, 3,000 yuan. Any objections? Lin Shiwan snapped her head up. Her eyes were full of humiliation and defiance. Lu Jinren, you cannot treat me like this, she screamed, losing control. I looked at her coldly. First, in this company, you call me President Lu. Second, what you sign with me is the group's highest tier S-level contract. The breach of contract penalty is 500 million yuan. You can choose not to do the job. Go to finance right now and pay the full penalty. Then get out of my sight. You. Lin Shiwan was left reeling by the astronomical figure of 500 million. She knew the contract penalty was high, but she had not imagined it would be this high. This was the cage I had custom built for her with my own hands. Only now did she realize that from the moment she chose to betray me, she had already lost completely. I admired the despair on her face, as a surge of pleasure rose in my heart. What? Unwilling. I picked up my phone and made as if to dial. No matter. I will have the legal department come talk to you now. While we are at it, we should also speak with the tax authorities and the bank about that 50 million yuan with an unclear destination. Lin Shiwan's body went completely weak. The last trace of her will to resist was crushed. She knew that once those departments were alerted, what awaited her would be an abyss of utter ruin. I accept. Good. The irrelevant personnel have been dealt with. Now, let us continue the meeting. The meeting room door closed behind me, shutting out Lin Shiwan's gaze, full of humiliation and venom. The President's office was a full 200 square meters. Its decor was minimalist yet luxurious. At this moment, the newly crowned Best Actress, Lin Shiwan, was dressed in an expensive outfit, yet she held a cleaning rag in her hand. Kneeling on the floor, she scrubbed the mirror-bright obsidian floor inch by inch. This was her first task as my chief secretary. I sat behind my desk, leisurely sipping top-grade Da Hongpao tea, enjoying the sharply contrasting scene before me. I had to admit, it was a pleasure to behold. Lin Shiwan's movements were clumsy. Clearly, she had never done this kind of rough work before. She rolled up the hem of her expensive suit, but it still got in her way. Those beautiful hands, fit for playing piano, were now covered in dust and grime. Bean-sized beads of sweat slid down her forehead, dripping onto the floor, only for her to wipe them away with the rag in humiliation. I knew she was enduring it. The hatred in her eyes had almost turned solid, as if it could carve me apart. The tea has gone cold. I set down the teacup and spoke flatly. Lin Shiwan's body stiffened. She stopped what she was doing, rose in silence, and walked to the tea station. Her movements carried suppressed fury. When she poured the water, it even splashed out, scalding her so that she hissed in pain. She carried the scalding teacup over and set it on my desk. Because of her anger, her hands trembled slightly. I did not take it. Instead, I looked at her with amused interest. Secretary Lin, It seems your onboarding was inadequate. When refilling tea for your superior, you must present it with both hands. Lean forward at 45 degrees, and say with a smile, President Liu, please have some tea. You smile for me. Let me see it. Lin Shiwan's face instantly flushed red. It was as if someone had slapped her hard across the face, making her smile at him. That was pure fantasy. Lu Jinren, do not go too far. At last, she could not hold back. She growled in a low, furious voice. I raised an eyebrow. My voice turned cold. It seems the 500 million yuan penalty still has not taught you a lesson. Or perhaps, you would rather speak with my legal team. Lin Shiwan's body froze again. All her fury seemed doused by a bucket of ice water. She bit down hard on her lip, almost hard enough to draw blood. After a long while, slowly, with extreme reluctance, she forced out a smile uglier than crying. That smile was stiff and twisted, full of resentment and humiliation. President Liu, please have some tea. Very good. Now that is more like it. Satisfied, I took the teacup and took a light sip. Then I frowned. Too hot. Brew it again. Lin Shiwan. Her chest rose and fell violently. She was almost exploding with rage. But, in the end, she still said nothing. She turned and went back to the tea station, then repeated the whole process. This time, she had learned her lesson. First, she tested the water temperature with the back of her hand, making sure it was right, before bringing it to me again. Still in that humiliating posture, with that rigid smile, only then did I take it unhurriedly, as if nothing had happened, and continued handling my documents. As for Lin Shiwan, she went back to her unfinished floor cleaning. In the office, only the soft rustle of turning pages remained, along with the rasp of the rag against the floor. I knew this was only psychological torment. Next, I would make her see that everything she took pride in, before me, was pitifully fragile. 1 hour later, there was a knock at the office door. My special assistant, Chen Shu, walked in, and respectfully handed over a document. President Liu, the materials you requested are ready. I nodded, then tossed the document in front of Lin Shiwan. Secretary Lin, familiarize yourself with this file. At 3 this afternoon, there is a negotiation with Xinghui Entertainment. You are coming with me. Xinghui Entertainment was another giant in the industry, and also Qianlang Capital, meaning Shen Lang's company, largest partner in the entertainment sector. Lin Shiwan picked up the file. When she saw the words Xinghui Entertainment Cooperation Termination Plan on the cover, her pupils shrank sharply. She flipped it open quickly, and the more she read, the more frightened she became. It was a detailed plan to pull the rug out from under them. Our group had actually obtained evidence of misconduct from more than half of Xinghui Entertainment's core artists, from tax evasion to chaotic private lives. Each item was enough to bring them total disgrace, and the purpose of this plan was to use this leverage to force Xinghui Entertainment to terminate all cooperation with Qianlang Capital and bind itself closely to us instead. Lin Shiwan's face went deathly pale. She knew better than anyone that Xinghui Entertainment was a crucial piece of Shen Lang's business empire. Once Xinghui switched sides, Shen Lang's Qianlang Capital would suffer a devastating blow. She snapped her head up and stared at me in disbelief. Lu Jinren, you are going after Shen Lang. Secretary Lin, I corrected her. Mind your wording. First, this is not a personal grudge. This is business competition. Second, you should call me President Liu. You, how could you? I looked at her, as if I were looking at a naive child. A mocking smile curled at my lips. Did you really think that for the past 3 years, I was merely at home cooking your meals and making your soup, acting as some idle behind-the-scenes capital backer? What you saw was only what I wanted you to see. What you never knew is the true face of this world. Lin Shiwan, the golden boy Shen Lang in your eyes, is, in mine, nothing more than a slightly stronger ant. If I want to crush him, it is barely harder than crushing an ant. My words completely shattered Lin Shiwan's final psychological defense. She had always believed that leaving me meant trading up, that she had stepped into a wider world and found a better partner. Only now did she wake up to the truth. She had not traded up. She had gone from Mount Everest and jumped into the Mariana Trench. The best actress halo she was so proud of. The new romance she thought was unbreakable before her ex-husband's business empire was as fragile as a sheet of paper over a window. No, impossible. A Lang is very capable. He will not lose to you. Is that so? I smiled faintly and pressed the intercom. Assistant Chen. Notify the legal department and the public relations department. Prepare to execute Plan A. Also, call the editor-in-chief of Yakai. I will accept their exclusive interview. As for the topic, we can talk about how certain venture capital upstarts inflate their bubbles, and how those bubbles burst. Lin Shiwan's body swayed. She collapsed onto the floor. She knew I was getting serious now. And she, this best actress, this woman who once thought she held the whole world in her hands, at this moment, could only watch helplessly, and do nothing. Worse, as my secretary, she would have to hand me the blade aimed at the man she loved. At 3 in the afternoon, at Xinghui Entertainment headquarters, Lin Shiwan and I appeared in the conference room on time. Xinghui's boss, President Li, a paunchy, overfed middle-aged man, saw me, and immediately came forward with warm enthusiasm. His round face was wrinkled into an ingratiating grin. Oh my, President Liu, what a rare honor, for you to come here in person. Truly honors Xinghui with your presence. I gave a faint smile, and shook his hand. President Li, you are too kind. My gaze swept across the conference room, and as expected, landed on another person, Shen Lang. He wore a well-tailored Armani suit. His hair was combed with immaculate precision. The Patek Philippe on his wrist gleamed under the lights. He looked handsome and confident, full of the charm of a successful man. No wonder Lin Shiwan had been so utterly captivated by him. When he saw Lin Shiwan behind me, a flicker of shock and admiration crossed Shen Lang's eyes. Then it turned into a gentle smile, sure of victory. Clearly, he still had no idea what had happened. He probably thought Lin Shiwan had come as my ex-wife to lobby on his behalf. How naive. How laughable. Zixi. He stood up and reached affectionately for Lin Shiwan's hand. Why are you here too? Didn't I tell you to rest at home? Lin Shiwan's body jerked back. She instinctively avoided his touch. Her face was deathly pale. Her head was lowered, and she did not dare meet Shen Lang's eyes. Shen Lang's brow creased almost imperceptibly, but it smoothed out again almost at once. He turned to me. His smile remained gentle, yet carried a faint, almost hidden provocation. President Liu, I have heard a great deal about you. I am Shen Lang of Tianlang Capital. I know who you are, I said calmly, pulling out a chair and sitting down. After all, a promising young talent who could make my wife invest 50 million yuan from her private stash is not easy to find anywhere in this circle. The word wife, I stressed it especially hard. Shen Lang's smile stiffened for an instant. President Li awkwardly tried to smooth things over from the side. Aha, President Liu, you really know how to joke. Come, everyone, please sit. For the major bosses to sit together today and discuss cooperation is Xinghui's honor. Discuss cooperation? I gave a soft laugh and tossed the cooperation termination plan into the center of the table. President Li, I think you have misunderstood. I came here today not to discuss cooperation, but to discuss termination. President Li and Shen Lang's expressions changed at the same time. President Li picked up the document. After reading only 2 pages, fine beads of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Shen Lang also leaned in for a glance. His face darkened instantly. Lu Jinren, what is the meaning of this? Using dirty tricks like this to threaten my partner. Don't you think that cheapens you? I leaned back in my chair and watched him with complete leisure. Compared with certain people who climb up by relying on women, I am ashamed to admit I cannot compete. At least, every cent I spend was earned by me. My gaze flicked toward Lin Shiwan. Lin Shiwan lowered her head even further. Her shoulders trembled faintly. She looked as if she wished the floor would swallow her whole. Shen Lang's face shifted between livid and pale. My words left him speechless. He took a deep breath and forced down his anger. Then he turned to President Li. President Li, you do not need to fear him. Tianlang Capital and Xinghui signed a long-term strategic cooperation agreement. This is commercial blackmail. We can sue him. On President Li's plump face, the cold sweat flowed even faster. Sue me. Leaving aside whether this damaging material is true, even if they won the lawsuit, Xinghui would already be ruined. Which mattered more and which mattered less? An old fox like him understood perfectly. President Shen, this matter. I think we should discuss this at length. Discuss it at length. President Li wiped his sweat and babbled incoherently, trying to smooth things over. Seeing that President Li had already wavered, Shen Lang panicked. He suddenly looked at Lin Shiwan, who had stayed silent all this time. Zixi, say something. Tell Lu Jinren that we truly love each other. Tell him to stop taking revenge on us like this. He was trying to play the emotional card, turning a business issue into a personal grudge. It was his last straw to cling to. As long as Lin Shiwan stepped forward and accused me of love turned into hate, of malicious revenge, he could seize the moral high ground and make me, before the public and President Li, fall into a disadvantage. Every gaze in the room, fixed on Lin Shiwan, her choice, would directly decide the direction of this negotiation. Lin Shiwan's body shook like a fallen leaf in the autumn wind. On one side was the new lover who had once promised her passion and a future. On the other was her ex-husband, a man with terrifying reach and power over her fate. She slowly raised her head. Her lips trembled open and shut, as if she were about to say something. In Shen Lang's eyes, expectation shone brightly. As for me, I picked up the tea on the table and blew on it lightly, as if none of this had anything to do with me. I knew what she would choose, because right before we came here, I had Assistant Cheng casually tell her that the Rolls-Royce she bought for her new lover, the purchase contract had an added clause if within 6 months, the guarantor, meaning me, withdrew the guarantee, the full purchase price had to be paid at once by the vehicle owner, meaning Shen Lang. Otherwise, the car would be forcibly repossessed. And as for that villa, the loan had been guaranteed in my name. With just one phone call from me, the bank could call in the loan at any time. Shen Lang. What could Shen Lang possibly use to repay tens of millions? Sure enough, under everyone's stare, Lin Shiwan took a deep breath and stood up. But she did not walk toward Shen Lang. Instead, she walked behind me. Like a real secretary, she picked up my teacup and refilled it for me. Then, she turned to the dumbstruck Shen Lang and said in a flat, formulaic voice, "Mr. Shen, please watch your words. I am President Liu's secretary. All of President Liu's business decisions have nothing to do with personal feelings. Please stop spreading rumors that damage President Liu's reputation and our groups. Otherwise, we reserve the right to pursue legal action against you." Those words were like a resounding slap, striking Shen Lang hard across the face. Shen Lang was completely stunned. He stared at Lin Shiwan in disbelief, as if he were looking at a stranger. "You, what did you say? Have you lost your mind? He just divorced you. He is humiliating you." The hand Lin Shiwan used to hold the teacup trembled slightly, but she did not look at Shen Lang. She only lowered her head and stared at the tea trembling in the cup. "I will say it again. Please call me Secretary Lin. My current job satisfies me very much. Please stop harassing me." After saying that, she respectfully placed the teacup back in front of me. Then she stepped back behind me and said no more. The prey, before the hunter, had chosen to submit. Shen Lang's face went from shock to anger, then to humiliated rage, and finally turned ashen. He understood. Lin Shiwan had betrayed him, just as she had betrayed me back then, without hesitation, clean and decisive. "Fine, Lin Shiwan, you are ruthless enough." Shen Lang pointed at Lin Shiwan, his whole body shaking with fury. "Liu Jinren, you are ruthless too. Just you wait." He threw down that threat and stormed out, slamming the door. In the conference room, only President Li and I remained, along with Secretary Lin behind me, walking on thin ice. President Li let out a long breath, as if he had finally sent away a walking disaster. He hurriedly forced a fawning smile on me. "President Liu, as you can see, now." I ignored him. Instead, I turned to look at Lin Shiwan and asked flatly, "Your performance just now was good. It seems this secretary job is starting to suit you." Lin Shiwan's body stiffened. She said softly, "Thank you for the praise, President Liu." But my tone shifted. "I don't like people playing little games behind my back." Lin Shiwan's heart lurched into her throat. I pushed my phone in front of her. On the screen was an audio clip recorded not long ago. I pressed play. In the conference room, Lin Shiwan and Shen Lang's voices immediately rang out. It was a private conversation they had before I arrived. "Lang, I'm a little scared. Liu Jinren, he seems to know everything. What are you afraid of? Zixi, have you forgotten our plan? The angrier he gets, the more he targets me, the deeper he falls into our trap. You just need to do as we agreed. At the crucial moment, hand him this evidence. Not only will he fall into total disgrace, we will swallow his entire business empire whole. But I still feel uneasy. Trust me, he can't beat us. He's just a crude rich man hiding behind the scenes." How could he compare to a genius like me? Someone who can move markets at will. Once we bring him down, his 10 billion yuan fortune will all be ours. By then, you will be the true queen of high society. The recording ended. The conference room fell into deathly silence. President Li's cold sweat had already soaked through his shirt. The way he looked at me was full of terror. So it turned out, this pair had not merely committed marital infidelity. They had set up a scheme to swallow my company. As for Lin Shiwan, pale was no longer enough to describe her face. It had the gray defeat of a corpse. She looked at me as if she were staring at a devil crawled up from hell. She could not understand why the conversation she and Shen Lang had plotted in a private car had been recorded by me. I looked into her terrified eyes and finally revealed my first real smile of the day. A smile cold enough to cut to the bone. Secretary Lin, do you need me to explain? I stood up and walked over to her. I looked down at her from above. That Rolls-Royce you bought for Shen Lang, the onboard vehicle system inside it, including the audio and GPS. I had people modify it all by hand. Anything I give away. If I don't install a few backdoors, how could I ever feel at ease? Don't you agree? Lin Shiwan thought. She had made a choice between me and Shen Lang. She thought she was enduring humiliation for a larger goal, biding her time for revenge, preparing to turn the tables with one final betrayal. She thought she was the hunter, pretending to indulge me, the larger prey. But she had no idea that from beginning to end, she was only a butterfly caught in my net. Every beat of her wings, every desperate struggle, was within my calculations, and that so-called trump card of hers, the evidence she and Shen Lang planned to use to bring me down. I truly looked forward to seeing her hand me that evidence herself, and watching what marvelous expression would appear on her face. After we returned to the company, Lin Shiwan seemed drained of all spirit and vitality. Her whole body was in a shell-shocked daze. She did not dare look at me. She did not even dare breathe too loudly. The hatred and resentment once in her eyes had been completely replaced by fear. I guessed she must be frantically wondering which part had gone wrong. The plan she and Shen Lang thought was seamless and flawless. Why, before me, it looked like an open comic book, ridiculous and laughable. At 5 in the afternoon, just before the end of the workday, I received a call. It was Assistant Chen on the internal line. President Liu, Shen Lang is downstairs at the company. He says he wants to see you. Security has stopped him. Let him come up, I ordered flatly. But he is very agitated. I'm afraid. It's fine. Let him come up. Oh, and one more thing. Record video of him trying to force his way in. Use several angles. After hanging up, I looked at Lin Shiwan in the corner, jumpy and terrified. Go. Make 2 cups of coffee. 1 for me. 1 for your dear Lang. Lin Shiwan's body trembled hard. She lifted her head, her eyes full of pleading. She did not want to see Shen Lang, especially now that their conspiracy had been exposed. What? You don't want to? I tapped the desk. Do I need to remind you of a secretary's duties? Lin Shiwan bit her lip. In the end, she walked toward the pantry in humiliation. A few minutes later, the office door was shoved open roughly. Shen Lang charged in like an enraged bull. His suit was badly wrinkled, and his hair was a mess. He no longer looked anything like a promising young talent. Liu Jinren. His eyes were bloodshot. What exactly did you do to Zixi? You despicable bastard. All you know are dirty tricks. I sat upright behind my desk, perfectly still. I even had the leisure to take a sip of tea. Shen Lang, you barged into a private office without permission, and now you're shouting. Where are your manners? Oh, I forgot. A kept man who rode a woman's coattails probably has no need for such things. You. Shen Lang shook with rage. Stop putting on this act. Give Zixi back to me. Give her back to you? It was as if I had heard the biggest joke in the world. Shen Lang, have you misunderstood something? Lin Shiwan is an employee of my company? Right now, she is carrying out her duties. Why should I hand my employee over to an outsider like you? As I spoke, I lifted my chin toward the pantry. Shen Lang followed my gaze and saw Lin Shiwan walking out with the coffee. Zixi. The moment Shen Lang saw Lin Shiwan, he grew even more agitated. He lunged forward in one stride, trying to grab her hand. Lin Shiwan screamed in fright and instinctively stepped back. The coffee tray in her hands tilted. 2 cups of scalding coffee landed dead on target, spilling all over Shen Lang's expensive Armani suit. Shen Lang cried out from the burn and jumped back in a sorry state. The front of his costly suit was instantly soaked in dark brown coffee. A complete mess. I'm sorry. Lang. I did not mean to. Lin Shiwan apologized in a panic, but her eyes were full of fear and distance. Shen Lang looked at her, then at me, calmly in control. At last, he seemed to understand something. A bleak smile appeared on his face. Very good, Lu Jinren. You're ruthless, Lin Shiwan, and you are something else. For money. All for money. There is truly nothing you won't do. Lin Shiwan's face went deathly pale. Her lips trembled, but she could not say a word. Shen Lang seemed to lose all hope in her. He stopped looking at Lin Shiwan, and turned to me instead. His eyes were filled with crazed hatred. Lu Jinren. Don't get smug. You think you've won? I'm telling you. You're finished. As he spoke, he pulled a black USB drive from inside his jacket, and slammed it onto my desk. Open it, and see. See what's inside. This is all the evidence from these past years. Of your tax evasion, insider trading, and collusion between officials and business interests. I've already made many copies. With one word from me, you'll be in total disgrace at once, and spend the rest of your life in prison. At last, he revealed what he thought was his trump card. I glanced at the USB drive. A faint, almost imperceptible smile flickered in my eyes. Beside us, Lin Shiwan saw that USB drive, and her pupils suddenly widened. Her face showed a tangled mix of fear, hope, and a hint of madness. She knew this was the last chance for her and Shen Lang to turn things around. As long as the evidence in the USB drive was real, as long as I was brought down, she could finally escape this hell. She stared hard at me, as if trying to find even the slightest trace of panic on my face. Unfortunately, she was disappointed. I did not even touch the USB drive. I simply leaned back in my chair, looked at Shen Lang, who seemed half mad, and asked calmly, "Oh, is that so? Are you sure what's inside can bring me down?" Shen Lang roared hysterically. "Of course. Do you know how much effort we spent to get our hands on this? Lu Jinren, you're finished. Get on your knees and beg me now. Give Zixi back to me. Then transfer half your company's shares to me. Maybe then I'll consider letting you off." He seemed to already picture me kneeling and begging for mercy. A sick, ecstatic grin spread across his face. I shook my head and sighed softly. Foolish. Truly foolish beyond belief. I picked up the phone and called Assistant Chen on the internal line. Have Lawyer Zhang from legal and the security team come up together. There is a Mr. Shen here, suspected of commercial blackmail and defamation. Shen Lang's smile froze on his face. You dare call the police? Why wouldn't I? I asked in return. A USB drive full of fake evidence. And you think you can extort half the shares of my 100 billion yuan company? Shen Lang, who gave you the nerve? Fake evidence? Shen Lang reacted as if his tail had been stepped on, screaming, "Impossible. This is absolutely real. This is." Zixi took this from the safe in your study with her own hands. In his panic, he implicated Lin Shiwan as well. Lin Shiwan's body shuddered violently. Her face turned paper white in an instant. Only then did I turn my gaze to her. My eyes were filled with disappointment and pity. Lin Shiwan, even now, do you still not understand? Right in front of them both, I took that black USB drive and plugged it into the computer. On the screen, a folder immediately popped up. The folder's name was a gift for the ungrateful wretches. Shen Lang and Lin Shiwan's breathing stopped at the same time. I opened the folder. Inside were no account books, nor any transaction records. There were video clips, one after another. The star of those videos was Shen Lang. There were recordings of him at different banquets, boasting about how he used Lin Shiwan to connect with me, and planned to replace me. There was hidden footage of him behind Lin Shiwan's back, fooling around in hotels with other actresses and female influencers. There was even a recording of him and his partner at Qianlang Capital, plotting how to hollow him out. Once they had swallowed up my business empire, kick him aside as well. Every video, every recording, was like a sharp blade, stabbing hard into Shen Lang and Lin Shiwan's hearts. Every trace of color drained from Shen Lang's face. He collapsed weakly to the floor, pointing at me, his voice shaking beyond recognition. You knew all along. All of this. It was all a scheme you set up. What else? I said with a cold laugh. Did you really think the safe in my study was that easy to open? Did you really think an award-winning actress could so easily crack a password I set? I looked at Lin Shiwan, whose face had gone ashen. The password to that safe Was your birthday? I let you discover it on purpose. That USB drive was placed inside by my own hand. I just wanted to see, in your heart, what our 3 years as husband and wife were truly worth. In your eyes, was I, the man who lifted you from the dust into starlight, more important? Or was a liar you had known less than 3 months, who only fed you sweet words? Now, through your actions, you have given me the answer. What they thought was their fatal trump card was only the death warrant I had carefully prepared for them. They thought they were setting the board. They never realized that from the very beginning, they were pawns on my chessboard. Lin Shiwan looked at me. Her eyes were filled with despair, regret, and a trace she herself had not noticed. Dependence. Perhaps, deep in her subconscious, she had never truly believed Shen Lang could beat me. She simply could not accept it. She could not accept being only a beautiful accessory in my vast empire. She wanted to prove herself. In the end, she lost completely. No, this isn't true. Lang, tell me this isn't true. Lin Shiwan shook her head. At last, her tears broke free. She turned to Shen Lang, collapsed weakly on the floor, as if clutching at her last lifeline. But Shen Lang could not even be bothered to look at her again. He knew. He was finished. Under this man's inescapable trap, he had no chance of turning things around. Just then, the office door opened. Lawyer Zhang walked in with two burly security guards. President Liu. I pointed at Shen Lang on the floor, and at the USB drive on the desk. Lawyer Zhang. This Mr. Shen came here with this USB drive to blackmail me. The contents inside should interest you. As for how to handle it, I don't need to teach you, do I? Lawyer Zhang glanced at Shen Lang, then looked at the contents of the USB drive. A professional cold smile immediately appeared on his face. Rest assured, President Liu. Extortion, commercial defamation, and on top of this, violation of trade secrets. The amount involved is enormous. The circumstances are especially serious. Mr. Shen, your future is settled. The two security guards stepped forward and lifted him as if he weighed nothing, hauling the devastated Shen Lang to his feet. No, Liu Jinren, you can't do this to me. I was wrong. I really was wrong. Please let me go. Shen Lang finally broke down. He began sobbing and begging for mercy. I waved a hand, signaling the guards to take him away. Inside the office, silence finally returned. Only Lin Shiwan and I remained, her face tear-streaked and pitiful. She looked at me, her eyes full of sorrow, as if still hoping to win my last shred of sympathy. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, all right? Let's remarry. I'll never do this again. I'll do whatever you say. At last, she was willing to say my name. Unfortunately, it was too late. I walked up to her. I wiped the tears from her cheeks. My touch was gentle, but my eyes were cold as snow. Lin Shiwan, your greatest mistake wasn't betraying me. It was thinking far too highly of yourself. Did you really think all of this was because of you? My voice was very soft, yet it struck like a heavy hammer, crashing hard into her heart. She froze. She looked at me through tear-blurred eyes, not understanding what I meant. The curve of my mouth grew even colder. Let me tell you the truth. The grudge between Shen Lang and me goes back 10 years. His father used despicable tactics back then and nearly destroyed my family's company. He drove my father into depression and death. All these years, I hid my identity, building my business empire step by step, all for one thing, waiting for a chance to tear him and everything behind him out by the roots. And you, Lin Shiwan, you were nothing more than the most crucial and most useful pawn in my plan. I made you famous. I made you the best actress everyone admired. Also, you would enter Shen Lang's line of sight, so he would believe you were the perfect weapon to use against me. Every betrayal of yours, every clever little move you thought you made, was already written into my script. Even what you believed was your passion and romance with him was something I created through hints and psychological guidance, with my own hands. So, do you understand now? You were not the heroine. You did not even count as a supporting woman. From beginning to end, you were only a tool for my revenge. Lin Shiwan was utterly stunned. The color in her face drained away completely in an instant. The last light in her eyes went out completely. Regret, resentment, no, it was despair, complete and sunk deep into her bones. So it turned out, the charm she had been so proud of, the choices she thought were so brilliant, the love she had wagered everything on, were all just one part of someone else's revenge plan. Her life, from the moment she met me, had been a carefully designed scam. She had lost. She lost her love. She lost her career. She lost her dignity. She lost her entire life. She lost everything. Lin Shiwan collapsed onto the floor, her gaze blank. After a long while, she let out an inhuman sound, somewhere between a shrill laugh and a wail. A tool. I was only a tool. She laughed, but her tears fell even harder. She raised her head, looked at me with a mix of madness and despair, saying, Lu Jinren, you really are ruthless. Your heart is so cruel. Compared with what you did to me, this little bit of cruelty is nothing at all. I drew my hand back. From my pocket, I took out a spotless white handkerchief. I carefully wiped the fingers that had touched her cheek. Then, I tossed the handkerchief into the trash. That gesture was full of disgust and finality. It also shattered the last foolish fantasy left in Lin Shiwan's heart. Then what are you going to do to me now? She asked hoarsely. She sounded like a prisoner waiting for a death sentence. You. I looked down at her from above, my gaze indifferent. You have no value left to me. I picked up the phone on my desk and dialed the internal line again. Assistant Chen, have public relations and the legal department get ready. In half an hour, the group's official Weibo account will release the statements. First, the group's artist Lin Shiwan has personal conduct issues and has seriously violated artist ethics and company rules. Effective immediately, the group will terminate all management contracts with her and file a lawsuit against her, seeking 500 million yuan in breach of contract penalties and other commercial losses. At the same time, issue a joint statement to the entire industry to permanently blacklist her. Second, package the video of Shen Lang's extortion and the incriminating contents of the USB drive and send them to every media outlet we work with. Remember, make sure it is the high-definition, uncensored version. When Lin Shiwan heard my words, her body began trembling like a leaf. A permanent industry blacklist, 500 million yuan in penalties, and her scandal with Shen Lang exposed to the public. No, please. Lu Jinren, you can't do this. I'm begging you. For the sake of the marriage we once had, please leave me a way to live. The marriage we once had? When you went behind my back and used my money to please another man, why didn't you think of the marriage we once had? When you and your lover were plotting to swallow my company, to leave me in total disgrace, why didn't you think of the marriage we once had then? Lin Shiwan, you chose this road yourself. Since you enjoyed the thrill of betrayal, you must pay the price for it. As for a way out, I already gave you a chance. With that, I ignored her sobbing screams. I picked up my suit jacket and walked straight out. At the door, Assistant Chen and Lawyer Zhang were waiting for me. President Lu, everything has been arranged. Assistant Chen said respectfully. I nodded. Without looking back, I left the office. Behind me came Lin Shiwan's desperate cries, as if the whole world had abandoned her. That sound was soon sealed away by the heavy office door. An hour later, I was sitting in the car on my way home. News alerts began flashing wildly across my phone. Best actress Lin Shiwan's public persona collapses. Cheated during her marriage. Conspired with her lover to frame her ex-husband. Tianlang Capital founder Shen Lang detained on suspicion of major extortion. Lu Group announces permanent industry blacklist against artist Lin Shiwan and seeks 500 million yuan in damages. Shocking scandal. Explicit video of Lin Shiwan and Shen Lang leaked. Every piece of news was like a heavy bomb, detonating across the entire internet. Under Lin Shiwan's Weibo post, thousands upon thousands of curses and condemnations flooded in at once. The fans who had once raised her onto a pedestal were now the cruelest ones, trampling her into hell. Her commercial endorsements were all terminated overnight. As for Shen Lang, his outcome was even less in doubt. Faced with ironclad evidence piled high, his Tianlang Capital was swiftly shut down. All its assets were frozen. Shen Lang himself and all his accomplices would face long years behind bars. What his father owed me back then, along with the debts he had added over the years, I made the son pay the father's debts. In one stroke, he paid it all back with interest. The car came to a smooth stop outside my estate on the outskirts of the city. This place was my true home. Not the marital house where Lin Shiwan and I had lived for 3 years. That place filled with lies and calculation. Sir, welcome home. Everything had finally settled. I took the glass of water and took a sip. A sweet and tart taste spread across my tongue. I looked up at the sky full of stars. My heart was perfectly clear. My great revenge was complete. I was at peace and clear-headed. As for Lin Shiwan, I heard later that under the massive penalty and the crushing weight of public opinion, she suffered a mental breakdown. Her family sent her to a psychiatric hospital. Later still, a tabloid reporter photographed her wandering the streets in rags. Her eyes were vacant, and she was picking food out of trash cans to eat. Some passers-by recognized her and pointed at her, whispering, but she only held a worn-out doll in her arms, smiling foolishly and murmuring, "I am a big star. I am Lu Nian's beloved woman. He will come to pick me up." When I saw that news, I was with a gentle young lady from a prominent family, well matched with mine, vacationing on a private island in Europe. Sunlight, beaches, and waves. Not a ripple stirred in me. I simply swiped past it on my phone and kept looking at the scenery before me. Those who betray me never come to a good end. Bleeding heart mercy? What is that supposed to be? For anyone who has stabbed me, the only thing I need to do is take the knife back, heat it until it glows red, then drive it back into them hard, and make sure they never get the chance to crawl back up. This is the kind of power fantasy life a man should have. Facing the sea breeze, I narrowed my eyes slightly. One era had ended, and my life had only just begun.